Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Hey guys,
Uh,
how's
we're
everybody doing today?
we're going to be talking today about one of my favorite topics of all. Okay, and the topic is your brand is like a book, right? 4 ways your brand is exactly like a book. So the topic came to mind for two reasons. First, from my old radio days when clients would ask for literally everything to be crammed into a 30 or a 60-second commercial. That's when it first came to mind. They thought you had to communicate everything instantly, right? And second, because we continually hear people say it takes too long to build a brand, it takes forever. There has been a false belief that everything is communicated or not communicated in one fell swoop.
Yeah. So we thought that we would address how the process really works, guys, and it may be easier than you think to become a recognizable brand. In fact, it is easier than you might think, but it also has to be done in a certain order. And today we're talking about 4 ways your brand is exactly like a book. All right. So put yourself in a position of going into a bookstore and you're sitting around thinking, I know that would be antiquated even in itself, but that's okay. Let's say you go in there and you go to the section you're looking for, and now you're looking for the book that you want to read. That's sort of the mindset we want you to take as we walk you through these 4 things.
Yep. I'm Tanya Eberhard. I'm the founder of Brand Face. We help business stars differentiate themselves, and we do that through personal branding.
Yep. And I'm Michael Carr, the COO of Brand Face. I was actually a client before I became a partner in the company. We're the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe. All right. Let's start off with fact number 1. You don't see the entire contents of the cover on the cover of a book. So now imagine yourself, like I told you, you're standing in, a bookstore and you're scratching your head and looking at the different books in whatever genre it is that you're interested in looking in. What are you looking at? You're looking at title, right?
Right.
You're looking at the front page. A book is designed to be unveiled page by page, chapter by chapter. Consider social media the exact same way. You can't possibly put everything about you or your business in one post. Your brand is revealed post by post by post. The look, the feel, the beliefs, the ideas, post by post by post. The first things people see in today's digital world are often your photo, your logo, and your tagline. And that's why people fall into the trap of the 3 amigos, because they think that's enough, because that's the first things you see. But it'd be like a 3-page book if that was the case, right? Those things are really just the cover. That's it. And they're designed really to make the shiny, make you stop, to at least pull that off the shelf and crack the book open. All right. But they're not intended to communicate everything about who you are or what your brand is.
All right. Number 2, your brand is not defined by time or even expense.
This is a big one.
It is a big one, and it's one that shocks a lot of people. It's not defined by time or expense. It is recognized by one thing: exposures.
That's it.
Exposures. So books are this way too. Think about it. It doesn't matter how much time or money it costs you to write a book. It matters how many people are exposed to it and how many people read it. So
and what people are exposed
exactly to. Exactly. So each time someone is exposed to your branding elements, it makes an impact. So when we talk about things like branding elements, it could be your brand images, your brand logo, brand colors, brand identifier, which is that slogan or tagline that states what you stand for, photos of you, most especially your brand messaging, that story that communicates what sets you apart. So the words, that communicate what you stand for and your promise to your customers are truly important. And we think it's one of the most important parts of a brand. And those are, when we relate it to a book, those are the sentences, the paragraphs, the pages, and the chapters, right? There's no getting directly from A to Z, okay?
Not even with the Cliff Notes.
Not even. You might get from A to C. So each page, each exposure, each chapter is how your brand gets out there. But sometimes just A or B is enough.
That's a fact.
To get your next client.
That's a fact.
So you might not have to have 500 exposures. Think of it like this. We were on a webinar with our clients right before we came in to do this video. And a lady, we were talking about podcasting. And she said, that's exactly how I found out about you guys. I saw you on a podcast. She saw us one time on a podcast. That was enough for her to learn that she wanted to do business with us. And it's the same thing for you. So when we say it takes forever to build a brand, I think we're thinking in a very antiquated way, right? It takes exposures to build a brand, and it's relative to what you put into it, right? The number of exposures is based on how much effort you're willing to put in getting your brand out there.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like this again. If you send a message out through Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, and send it to your email list, that's 5 different places and 5 different exposures. None of those cost you one dime.
Not a dime.
With the exception, of course, of your email marketing platform. That's just a flat monthly fee. But those are different exposures, right? And sometimes it only takes 1, sometimes it takes 25, but you'll never know if you don't get it out there, right?
That's exactly right. It's like fishing. Number 3 is the goal is to get your prospects to turn the next page. You're always thinking that way. All right. You're thinking that way with your posts. You're thinking that way with your email drip campaigns, right? You know, you're doing that with your speech when you're in front of somebody, right? You should always, as any salesperson, any entrepreneur should be funneling what the next part of the conversation should say. And that could mean that someone sees your branding elements and asks you, what does that mean? That would be a great thing. If you have a brand enough that people go, oh, what's that about? Right? I'm the abundant life broker. I can't tell you the times that I send an email to somebody and they call me up or they send me an email. Hey, I'm really interested in an abundant life broker. What's that about? And I get a chance and an opportunity to tell them I love to help people build brands. I love people to build businesses. I love to help realtors build big books of business of themselves. That's what I do. I want to spend the rest of my life being the abundant life broker. Only because I sent them an email and it was in my tagline. And so they picked that up. Right? Why it's so critical that your book looks different from everyone else's, right? It's very important that it is different. Otherwise, it wouldn't draw their attention, right? How would it draw their attention if it wasn't different, if it didn't stand out? Turning the next page could also mean they go from an email you sent them to your website or from your website to your YouTube channel. These are called calls of action. And when you put them in there, you might think, well, look, this is just superfluous. They could just find me if they want to find me. Yeah, but why would they want to? Lead them to where you want them to go. And every time you lead them, not only is your Google juice getting better, not only is your SEO growing, not only is your exposures growing each time that you can get them to do that, what are they doing? They're learning more about your brand, about what it is that you stand for. So with every exposure, they learn more about you. And if they're seeing things and hearing things that match their own ideal, right, which they should be because they're your ideal customer, then it leads to the end goal, which is the end of the book, which is you making money off of it, right? And it's where you're positioned as an expert in your niche is where you really climb to that point in your marketing that you have an actual ROI. People hit us up all the time like, well, what's the ROI on this? And I'm like, well, it is incalculable. But I can promise you that when you go through it and you start working these steps, you actually can follow what works and what does not work. So your ROI begins to go through the roof.
True. All right. And here we bring it to number 4 now. 4 ways that your brand is exactly like a book. Just like a book can do for an author, your brand establishes instant credibility. Okay. So when somebody sees that you've got your story down, you've got your look all together, it instantly elevates you above your competition. There's a stark difference. And especially when we meet people, most of all in a digital world as we do these days, and especially in the Zoom world, right? We're meeting them face to face, but it's across a digital asset, right? It's across Zoom. So it makes a difference everywhere. And that credibility comes across, when you've got it all together. It's obvious that you spent time on your craft. You care enough about how you present yourself to the world. And that puts you in a more serious, noteworthy category, guys, a very noteworthy category. So we're going to sum it up for you here. 4 ways your brand is exactly like a book. Number 1, you cannot put your entire contents on the cover. The cover needs to be 75-mile-an-hour view. It needs to be stop them in their tracks. That's captivating. That causes me to want to open the first page of the book. Yes, but it cannot communicate everything. Number 2, your brand is not defined by time or expense.
but rather exposures.
Exactly.
That's very important to quantify that in your mind.
It sure is. It's sure, because people say, well, it took 15 years to build that brand. No, it took 15 years for you to maybe get, if we're talking about a national brand, for them to maybe get national recognition, on a big scale, right? But for you to become noticed in your market, in your area, as for specifically what you stand for, that's determined by the number of times you put it out there.
I mean, think about this, guys. If anybody tells you it takes too long money and time to build a brand, then they're looking at it and quantifying it like you go 10 years and nobody knows who you are. Right. And then all of a sudden, everybody knows who you are. That's not how it works. There's plenty of people make money the whole step. Every step you're making money with your brand as you're building it. So keep that in mind. It is exposure based, totally. And number 4 is it establishes instant credibility. So don't forget that number 4 on the right.
And that I can't even explain to you how much that does for you, that instant credibility. It's just, even at a glance, you can tell there's something different, something more elevated, something more professional and serious about that causes you to really want to be attracted to that, right? Especially if it's your ideal customer. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed today's topic, hey, we encourage you to like it, love it, share it, follow, and ding, subscribe. Absolutely. So you can be the first one to know each time we introduce a new topic. And also, if you have any questions about your brand and you want to learn more from us or talk to us about your brand, discussyourbrand.com is where you want to go.
Yep. Folks, we hear people say about it all the time. It takes too long to build a brand. Well, I can tell you one thing. If you wait until tomorrow, it's even longer. If you wait until next week, it's even longer than that. We vehemently are against that thought process. We know that a brand can start today and you can make money off of it today. And we've got thousands of cases of proof of that. And we want to encourage you to do it. And here's the reason why we want to encourage you to get started building your brand. Because number 1, we know it works, and we wrote the book on it. We're the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe. And number 2, we know that prosperity favors the bold. So we say be bold, especially with your brand, folks, and especially in 2022, which I'm going to start saying now because we're done with 2021. Get ready for 2022. It's going to be big, guys. And thank you, Miss Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys.